Good morning, everybody. It's midweek and it's Wednesday. Keep Calm Wednesday, and it's the 7th of April. Who would believe that this would go, the live videos from last March would still be continuing. But welcome to today. Now, did you wonder why I posted the image Keep Calm and put it in room 101? Well, I'll explain, just in case you didn't know. I'm sure some of you do, but room 101 was actually introduced in George Orwell's book. The room was a torture, 1984 book. The room was a torture chamber in the Ministry of Love, where the party, that's the authorities, who knew everybody's fears, they tried to subject a prisoner to their own worst nightmare, fear, their phobia. Now, if you've read the 1984 book, you'll know that the protagonist, Winston Smith's nightmare, was to be eaten by rats. But he saves himself. He saves himself by begging the authorities to let the rats eat his lover, Julia. Let her face be gnawed away by rats. And of course, he's breaking his promise, because he promised to Julia that he would never betray her. And of course, what he didn't realise was that the intention of the authorities was not to go through with him, the threat of being eaten by rats, go through with his nightmare, but it was to force him into betraying his beloved Julia. And this resulted in breaking his spirit. So if that is worth a read, the book, or you're reading it again, then, you know, why not? Or are you now afraid of being eaten by rats? I'll say hi to Barbara there. Great chat last night on our room with Barbara and Ali. Sorry nobody else joined, but I'm going to give a wee rethink to the room for a Tuesday night. So that's enough about the background to where Room 101 came from. The TV programme, of course, Room 101, that was developed so that individuals who were on the programme could put what they didn't like into Room 101. So for today, this is your chance to put, now it's not what you don't like, but we're talking about fear. It's your chance to put your fears into room 101, your fears, your phobias, your nightmares into room 101. Life is full of threats, full of fears. I mean, some are real, but some are perceived. And when you can't get over your fears, when you can't let go of your fears, they stop you from seizing the day and just living your life to the fullest. And so many people just live in fear constantly. So how do you let go of your fears? Well, you've got to be brave. You've got to have that courage to let go of them. And when you've got the courage to let go of your fear, you can actually achieve anything. But, you know, you might ask yourself, but are people born with courage? Some people might seem to be born with courage. Are you that person? Can you let go of your fears? Some people seem to have that extraordinary courage, whereas others maybe need to build up to become brave to let go of their fears. So how do you build your courage, you know, so that you can let go of fears? I know I've often talked about turning challenges into opportunities. And to do this, you need courage to overcome challenges and to turn them into opportunities and let go of fear. You need to take responsibility for your life. You need to take control over your life. Now, we know you can't control everything. That's impossible. But what you can do is control how you react to things, how you respond to things, even fear. So here are some sort of practical tips just to help you on your way to becoming brave. The first tip is take a moment to just be in the present. Reflect on your feelings. Use your journal, your diary. Write down your thoughts and feelings, the good and the bad. I think what happens is often people think, I need to ignore the bad. I need to ignore the fears. But that's really what you shouldn't be doing. When you allow yourself to reflect on your experiences, good and bad, particularly the bad actually, and you're still here, you realise that you've come through tremendously difficult times challenging times, and that these challenging times have actually made you strong. And this is because you're here now. You know you've come through all of this. And I find that my greatest strengths come from the greatest challenges. So just think on that one. The second tip is to accept and acknowledge that you have fears. When you go through, after you've gone through sort of tip one and reflected on things, and you're reflecting back to all these experiences, and you suddenly realise, you know what, I've been really brave, and I have come through a lot. You're recognising that, because life is frightening. We don't know what's round the corner. So you need to accept that there are going to be fears. You're going to be afraid of things. And what you need to do is not ignore them. Some people think, well, I'll just ignore that and it'll go away. And this is far from the truth. You need to face your feelings of being afraid and to accept your fears. You know, say to yourself, it's okay to be afraid. Of course it is. Say an affirmation just now. It's okay to be afraid. It's when you're afraid, you find that you've actually got the courage then to take action. And it was Nelson Mandela. He said that I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. So just think of that, Nelson Mandela's phrase there. Your next tip is understand your fear. You need to, why is it important? Well, many people don't even know why they're afraid. So you need to kind of recognise it. What is it that's making you afraid? When you know what's making you afraid, then it helps you actually deal with your feelings. Your emotions and feelings can't be dealt with if you don't know why you're frightened of something. So take a moment to think of something you're afraid of. Something that makes you anxious, frightened. It can be anything from, do you have a presentation to do and you're frightened of that? Do you have to lead a workshop and you're frightened of that? Do you have to speak maybe to a large audience and you're frightened of that? If you've been asked to do these things, the person asking you, well, they know, they have the confidence in you that you're capable of doing it. So what's actually making you afraid? Well, you need to then name the fear. What is it that you're frightened of? Is it that actually doing this, yet somebody else thinks you're capable of doing it? So rather than saying, is this a fear, is it just anxiety? Is it a worry? If you think, oh, I'm not able to do this, think about why you've been asked. And then perhaps your fear is you might not know where to gather the knowledge or, prepare for what you've been asked to do. And of course, that's what you've got control over. So if you prepare and you know how to prepare and that you should prepare, then that reduces your anxiety. And of course, along the way, you use to reduce your anxiety and stress and let go of fear, you use my ABC. And I'll be doing the letting go exercise later, my balloon exercise, which is just so short, but it's fabulous. Just get that fear away. Don't talk yourself out of the worry or anxiety. I had a colleague many years ago, an excellent barrister, fabulous guy. I used to really look up to him. He always seemed to be calm. He always seemed to be just so eloquent, well spoken. And I remember sort of wishing I was like him. And I said to him one day, I wish I could be calm like you. I wish I, just could be so eloquent. And he just looked at me and he said, what, calm? He said, I need nervous tension. Of course I worry. He said, my stomach comes in a knot, got to prepare myself. He used the breathing exercise. And he said, the day I lose that nervous tension is the day I give up. Because having that nervous tension, and it's same with actors, I think, when you're going on stage, when you're doing anything, if you're blasé about it, you're probably not going to do your best. He said you need that sort of slight, it's not fear, it's the slight stress, the tension the pressure in your tummy sort of area, that kind of knot, and then you take a deep breath and you do your best, provided of course you've prepared. And he was just fantastic. I mean, he was obviously had great knowledge of the law, but it was just an amazing to behold. It was wonderful. But he taught me that you need that nervous tension, not stress. You know, a lot of people say, oh, well, I like to work under, stress. They don't mean that. You don't want the negative stress. I work well to tight deadlines. You know, we've talked before about me procrastinating. So if you ask me to do something maybe at the beginning of December, I won't be doing it just now. I'll be waiting until maybe October, November, and then I get sort of stuck in, because that gives me that a positive, constructive kind of pressure that motivates me to get going. And you can look back at my blog on positive procrastination. It really does work. So anyway, enough of that. But I know that I like to have some kind of pressure, or I think, oh, I'll just leave that till later. And remember, life is full of changes, particularly major changes that can cause you to be afraid. What about a new school, a new home, new job? You know, you're afraid because you don't know what's round the corner. You don't know what the future holds, but none of us do. And then you worry, oh, maybe my decision will be wrong. Well, you can't keep thinking about the future. You maybe make these decisions because you think, oh, the grass is greener on the other side. But as I've often said, I mean, even my lovely son Bruce used to say, oh, I wish I could go and live in Rome. I wish I could go and do this. And I used to say to him, and I'll say to anybody that wants to move, no matter where you move, you take yourself with you. So if you don't change you, it's going to be the same wherever you go. And I'm sure you know, perhaps yourself, or you know friends who they move to this job, they move to this idyllic village, or they move to a town or whatever, and life is going to be better. And you know, and you meet them later, and they're just as miserable as they were before because they haven't changed themselves. So you need to prepare. You know, how are you going to deal with your fear? So you've got to ask yourself some questions. What are you afraid of? Now, you might think that you're really afraid of what others think about what you want to do. Well, just ditch that. You're doing it for you. And if it turns out not to be the correct decision, remember, learn from it. That's what challenges and when life throws us a curveball, that's what it's all about. It's learning the lesson. What lesson have you to learn? The next tip, of course, is take responsibility for your life. You can't prevent bad things from happening. I wish you could. I wish I had a magic wand for everybody. You can't. But what you do have is you have the ability, if you're up for it, to take control over how you respond and how you react to things that happen to you. Remember, it's you and only you that can take responsibility for your happiness, your unhappiness, your success, your failures, and of course how you respond to life's challenges. People who don't take responsibility for their own life, now you'll know lots of people like this, they're victims. They're always blaming others. Oh, that happened to me because of this person, that person, other things. They're always blaming others for what happens to them. Is that you? Because if it is, ask yourself some of these questions and find out. Are you anxious? Are you unhappy and maybe unhappy in the job you're working in just now? Are you unsure how to turn things around for yourself? Are you afraid and do you feel you've got stuck where you are? Are you always blaming others? And do you feel the victim? Well, if you answer yes to any of these, then you need to get yourself out of the victim mode. And you can do this by stop blaming others. Take personal responsibility for your life. And what you need to do, of course, to do this is change your mindset. And it's never too late. I'm always really quite surprised about people say, well, it's too late to change now. I've always been that way, nothing's going to change me now. And they're just making excuses for themselves. So stop. It's never too late. Letting go of your fears and becoming brave and courageous is about realising that aspects of your fears, there are aspects that you can control. And you learn to turn your fear into something that you can manage. And that's what's important. So think of something that you're afraid of. I mean, I've found that during this pandemic, we've had so much negative news, confusing news. Probably that will go on for a while. People are even, I think they're afraid that we'll always be in a pandemic. People are terrified of going out. They're terrified of doing this, terrified of doing that. Even despite the lockdown restrictions easing, they're going, oh no, I can't go out. I'm worried about going out. I'm terrified. But people who face their fears, they actually do things they can control. So in this situation of the pandemic and all the information we've been given is take safety precautions for yourself. And people who do that will socially distance, they'll wear the masks, not because they're being forced to do this, but they're thinking, well, I don't want to be the cause of maybe causing someone else's ill health, but they're looking after themselves. So just think about that. I mean, think about driving a car. Are you frightened of driving a car? Are you frightened that there's going to be an accident because, well, we don't know. We don't know because an accident might not be your fault. But what you can control is make sure your car is safe. Have it regularly checked. There are things in life that you can control. The next tip, of course, is changing your mindset. Don't think that's going to happen overnight. So don't beat yourself up if you fail to, be brave, fail to change something. It's natural to, take time. You've got to think about, doing something so regularly. It's why I did my EBC. I developed them because if you have a good habit, then it's there when you need it. But if you fail in anything, don't beat yourself up. Just keep going. So if you fail to let go of your fears, keep going. Try, and try again. It takes time to change your mindset. And as I say, although my ABC, I made them so that they were easy to do. And people will even admit sometimes, oh yes, yeah, I know about these ABC, but I don't always do them. Well, actually, in a way, they're not going to be as effective to that person as the people who practice them regularly. And then it just comes to mind, when you're with somebody, even if a small thing's annoying you, you can just take a deep breath in. I'm not annoyed. I feel good. Breathing in, and it's all in your head, and you can be nodding as they're speaking, and it calms you down. So don't beat yourself up, but try the ABC, make them your good habit, and just keep trying. Now remember, you're not alone in your fears. Many people will be afraid of the same things that you are. So think of people who have succeeded in the face of adversity. So a good thing is, I like to read books or read there's TED videos, YouTube videos of people who've been through life-threatening injuries. I mean, one that comes to mind is the Aussie girl, Janine Shepherd. She was all set. Hi there, Maggie. I'll give a wee wave there. But she was all set to go to the Olympics. She was the Australian Olympics cross-country skier. And on her last day of training, the sun hit. She was cycling. The sun blinded her, and a truck came round the corner and smashed into her. She'd every bone in her body broken. So obviously her dream of being a cross-country skier was gone. Now that would break anybody's spirit. But she retrained, rethought, going through lengthy retraining, like lots of people who've had life-threatening injuries, whether it's car accidents or people who are in the forces. But those who sort of come through it have this spirit to survive. And I liked the phrase that she talked in one of her TED Talks. She said, "A broken body is not a broken person." And I'd like to think that if you have mental challenges as well, a broken mental spirit, not spirit, but if you have if you've got mind thoughts that are negative, that doesn't make you a broken person. You can turn it around. So read about these people who have succeeded. Use them as role models to boost your own morale and your own confidence. And of course, if you share stories with friends, sharing to me is caring. And if you're really feeling down and you're frightened of something, share with somebody. Even I'm thinking of fears like people are frightened of spiders. I don't like snakes, but I maybe wouldn't force myself into a position of being with them. Although I've tried that actually. When I was in lovely Melbourne, I went up country in Australia, and I did actually go to see some snakes. And funnily enough, I thought I'd be terrified, but actually they were quite mesmerising. I didn't want one round my neck, but the chap that was holding one said, "Do you want to touch it?" And I did. And of course, it's the opposite of what you think. They're not cold, but it wasn't my idea of having a pet. I'd rather just stick to my dog. But, I sort of faced that, and I thought, I did well there. And some of if you've got a phobia, that's what some people do. You've got to get yourself attuned to your fear, whether it's spiders, snakes, rats, or whatever. So when you share with friends, I know if I've said, I don't really like snakes, there's so many friends and people I know go, "Oh, neither do I," or "I don't like rats," or some people don't even like birds and things. So, you suddenly realise that you're not alone. Also, if you've had challenging times, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a car accident, or, something that has really been quite frightening for you, when you share, because I know I made the loss of my child public, and it was only then I realised, my goodness, so many people are in the same situation. So you find out you're not alone. Many, many people have been through challenging, tough times, but they've come through them. So despite their fears, they've found a new creative way to deal with them, and you can do this too. So of course you need to be resilient and flexible. So what you need to do there is have creative pursuits. Creativity builds resilience, and you become brave, and when you're brave, you then learn to endure each day in a more positive, fulfilling way. And one book I liked, I read again, it was an Australian journalist, but she was interviewing people who'd been through life-changing experiences from all walks of life, whether it was cancer, ill health, tragic accidents or whatever. And what came through on all the people who achieved a better, fulfilling life were the ones who were not victims. They didn't blame everybody. They didn't go into victim mode. And also, a lot of them who'd survived these experiences did not use the word survivor. They said, "We're not victims. We're not survivors. What we do is we endure life in a different way." And that's why I wrote my book, Resilience and Courage, The Key to Endurance. There are so many tips in there to help you let go of fear and live life to the fullest. So I love these kind of stories just of people who've just succeeded beyond all difficulties that they've experienced. So you need to change your mindset, but that needs more than courage. Changing your mindset, you need to be open-minded. You need to be flexible, committed and dedicated to changing your mind. So the mind is so powerful. So if we've got negative thoughts, they're just as powerful as positive ones. And why would you not want positive ones? Now, I know it's impossible to be positive all the time. But when you develop healthy, positive mental habits. You learn to use them as soon as these kind of negative thoughts come in. And that again, I know I harp on about it, but the ABC is just so quick. And I know, I think Barbara, there's people I'm listening here, I know they use them, and it's feedback from them. They say, do you know, it's kind of a lifesaver, because whether it's difficult, hugely difficult moments, or even just annoying moments, just use them. It gives you time out. So when you complain about things, you're a victim, and you can change the situation by taking action and taking control. You have the power. Use your journaling, use your diary. Really, you're actualising things rather than just keeping them in your mind. And last but not least, never least, is my ABC. They help motivate you to change for the positive. And definitely my C. And that's where I'm going to be doing my balloon exercise. You put your fear in it and let it go. And always remember the power of the mind. You need to start taking action now. And of course, don't set yourself huge goals, because if you set yourself a goal that's too big, you're setting yourself up for a fail. And, you know, you're setting yourself up to be afraid, actually, because you're going to be frightened that you didn't reach that goal. You're going to be anxious and worried. So remember the phrase is a Chinese proverb: the journey of 1,000 miles starts with one small step. And that's really the key, a small step at a time, and never quit. So for today, my ABC, what would your affirmation be? I hope you're saying it or writing it down, adding it to your list of affirmations. I would say, it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Or, I am brave. I have courage to face life's challenges. Or, I see challenges, or I turn challenges into opportunities. Any of these things is a good affirmation for today. And that's the 3 Ps. Remember your personal, positive and present tense. You've got it. So it's within you. And of course, B, breathe. Oh, it's just so wonderful. The deep breathing. And I think I was saying the other day, maybe I haven't said it, but I noticed or read or heard a doctor actually saying that when you do the deep, effective breathing, it not only gives you time out, as I say, it calms, it relaxes you and energises you, but he actually has done research that it actually helps your physical well-being, because it increases the capacity of the lungs, which is desperately needed in these times when we've got any kind of flu or COVID or pandemic which hits the lungs. We need to increase the capacity of our lungs, but it also boosts the immune system, and we need that as well. So it's amazing how the number of people who just breathe, shallow breathing. I find it just alien to me now. It's even difficult to do that. But if you find yourself with the chest area rising, that shallow breathing, you need to have it from the diaphragm. And I've got a Mind Bites video and a YouTube video, I think, which shows you how to do that. And if you do yoga or drama or elocution or speech or singing lessons, you'll have been taught deep breathing. I remember I took up the clarinet many, many years ago, and my teacher there, he said to me, "You've done breathing training?" And I said, "Well, not really, but I was fortunate enough. I'd had drama and elocution at the school I went to." And he said, because my lung capacity to blow into the clarinet was just exceeded what he thought being a new player. So all the musicians who have to use their mouth for, the trombones, the trumpets, clarinets, anything that's the wind instruments in their mouth, they need that lung capacity. So it helps you do so many things. Anyway, the C, my Mind Bites today. Now, it's a short one, but it's fabulous for fear. Anything that's worrying you. Now, I did one, letting go of emotional pain, which was slightly longer, I think, to think of something that was hurting us and put a number to it. This isn't like that. This is quite short. So just, if you sit just now, you've got to have your feet on the ground and just feel comfortable, back straight, just so you've got yourself in a comfortable position. And if you close your eyes, this is going to help you whenever a worry, an anxiety or a fear hits you. Just do this. And it's in a split second it can be done. I'll go through it slowly because we're going to use the breathing first. So, I am brave. You can do your affirmation. Close your eyes and then breathe in through the nose. Hold. And then exhale through the mouth. Now take another deep breath in slowly through the nose just to relax you. Hold. And then exhale slowly through the mouth. Now, if you've any fear at all, maybe think of a fear at the moment. I want you to imagine a balloon and put your fear in, and I want it to be a red balloon. Red is the colour of, it's kind of at the root of all that's worrying you. So red balloon is good. Put your fear in the red balloon and then watch it as it floats. Let it go. Watch it float into the air. And say to yourself, I let it go. I let it go. Now take another deep breath in through the nose. Hold. And then exhale slowly through the mouth. Now you can open your eyes and know that the fear is gone. Just say, I let it go. I let it go. Now that's shorter than the usual ones. You can just yawn and stretch your arms because we've sat for a moment or two. If there's anything worrying you, put it into that red balloon and just watch it float away. Watch it float into the sky. And I mean, I noticed that technique. I think I said the other day that I watched it in Frasier. I love that TV programme. I never cease. There's moments that I find myself still laughing, and I know I've watched them many times. But when his father was getting worked up, he said to him, put it in a red balloon. Every time you feel anger rising, put it in the red balloon and watch it go. And you could see throughout the programme, when he was getting upset, he just went, and you knew he was put it in that red balloon and let it go. It really works. So you can do this so quickly if fear, anxiety, worry or anything rises. I hope you've enjoyed that. I'll be back on Friday. Haven't quite thought of a title yet. If you've got a title for Friday or something you want me to talk about, then I'll be back on Friday at 10. So private message me or post on Facebook or email me, pat@mindcircles.co.uk. So I look forward to Friday. And as always, what are my 2 trademark tips? Smile and laugh. They cost you nothing. And of course, virtual hugs to you all. And have a great day, and I'll see you Friday. Thanks for listening and watching. Bye for now.